Guys, the show you're about to see next is our new show called OGR Network Behind the Mic. On this show, we will be traveling around with our mobile setup to meet some amazing people to talk about some awesome topics. Now, this episode was filmed about a month ago, but here it is now ready for you guys to see. First episode with Bobby Krug. Currently an F4 driver for Skip Barber Racing School, Bobby has come up through the ranks on a very interesting path. I have asked him here today to talk about those experiences and maybe lay a bit of roadmap for future drivers. First topic I'd like to cover on is childhood. Where did you grow up?
So I grew up as a kid in Bunker Hill, Illinois. I lived there up until about the 4th grade, and then I moved to Mount Olive, Illinois, where I still currently reside and live in.
How old were you when you fell in love with racing?
How old was I when I fell in love with racing? Well, it was at an early age, a lot earlier than I remember. When I was a kid growing up, me and my dad watched two things religiously on TV, and it was motorsports and professional wrestling. And so I knew that, as I got older, that my physical build, it wanted me to be more in a fire suit than in wrestling trunks and boots, which I'm definitely still, as I've gotten older, feel very thankful for, because I definitely wouldn't be a very good pro wrestler. It was at an early age and just never really had the opportunity to do it until I got older. But the love that I had when I was way younger, before I remember, is still the same that I have today.
Right on. What was the first thing you raced?
So I come from a middle-class family, and so we didn't really get an opportunity to race when I was young, when I was about your age. But I did get a chance to test a quarter midget on a dirt track once, and nothing really ever came from that. I remember the one thing I remember from that experience was when I went out on track, they left my visor up, and I was so clueless on, I don't know how to close a visor. I've never been in a helmet. I've never been in a fire suit, nothing. And so I ran the entire time on this dirt track with my visor up, and I was getting dirt in my eyes, and it wasn't a very good experience for me, but that's the first jump that I had in racing. So I was probably 16 years old when I started racing, and I actually started at the Gateway Kartplex, where we both race at. And in the iDrive series is where I got my first real-life experience at racing.
Did you have any family members as a child that were into racing?
So my dad was a big fan of racing. He never had the chance to race either. I just don't think it was something that he was ever really interested in. He spent a lot of time in his life just being a spectator, going and just watching racing, watching pro wrestling. So he never really got into the sport of racing, and he would have been the only one to do it. My mom wasn't into it. My siblings weren't into it. I didn't have any family members that were into it, which made my transition and my story in racing very difficult, because usually it helps out if you've got a family member that's already been through it. We see a lot of people at Kartplex that we both race with that have had family members that have raced prior, and that helps kind of jumpstart their career and get them going. But for me, it was very difficult because no one had had that previous experience. I wish they had, and it would have made my life a little bit easier. But I'm the first generation racer out of my household.
Were you competitive as a child?
Well, I don't think I consider myself a competitive child. Growing up in elementary, junior high, and up even into high school, I never played sports, which I kind of had a regret for doing that, because I just like that brotherhood mentality of it. I mean, if you've been on a basketball team, soccer team, you have where everyone's kind of working together, and you have the athletic aspect of it. And I was never into that as a kid. Especially my younger years, I stayed at home. I didn't really go out and hang out with friends away from school. I played my video games, played with my action figures, played with my Hot Wheels. And as I got older into junior high, I did things like Scholastic Bowl, where you answer trivia questions, and I ended up doing some videography for the teams. But, I never was competitive, but I would say that I've always had a feeling to strive for success, which I kind of put that around a competitive, almost like a mental competitiveness. So I always wanted to push myself to do as best as I could in my schoolwork. I always wanted to do my best in Scholastic Bowl, and if I was doing video stuff, I always wanted to do the best I could. And I guess in video games too. I mean, that's another way that I was competitive. That's probably my first real competitive taste in racing, was playing all the racing games. I remember when my first ever gaming console that I got that I could play with people online was an Xbox 360. My brother got it for me for a birthday, and I would go on NASCAR '09 and race with people online, and that was the first like competitive racing times that I had. But no, growing up as a kid, it wasn't really up until when I was able to do like the online racing stuff is when I was able to feel that good competitive racing.
How did you get started into iRacing?
So that was like around 2015, and I just had bare bones equipment, nothing really crazy. I remember you telling me before that you've had some console steering wheel experience and been playing stuff. So I had a computer that I was like barely capable of playing iRacing on. And so I had like really low graphics, really low end equipment, and I was able to make it work. And it really helped me get my fix because you're in a very competitive atmosphere. Everyone on iRacing is really good once you get past the rookie level stuff. And so it was a good place for me, you know, at a very affordable way to get some really good racing. And it's pretty realistic. I still use it to this day to learn tracks that I haven't been to in the Skip Barber series. And I still use it to just keep fresh on racecraft. I think there's a lot of things that, you know, kids like yourself or young racers or new people into the sport could learn by just getting into iRacing, because you don't have to wait till Saturday race day or Sunday race day. You can hop on there Wednesday night, Thursday night, and get a really good sense of, you know, how to race people and racing line and techniques on braking and steering and just all the little fundamentals of racing. So it's been a good tool for me, and I attribute a lot of my success in karting in the big cars to iRacing.
And you think that starting with that very small thing is an okay thing? Like,
it's very important.
It's perfect.
It's even like I don't know what kind of games I think you said that you've played F1 on the console with a steering wheel, right?
Yeah, it's about. But you got to start somewhere. So.
You got to start somewhere, and that stuff's good for like even like on the video game side of it. Maybe the cars don't handle like a real car. Even in iRacing, it's a little off, but like on the console, you still get driving line and reaction time. All that stuff's very important.
And my next question was, what would you recommend as the first setup? Like,
I mean, it just depends on what a person can afford. So you can go and you can spend way too much money. One of the great partners at Skip Barber Racing School is SimCraft, and they sell these ones that are literally look like a spaceship testing device, and it goes in a bunch of different directions, and it's probably $60,000, $70,000, $80,000. And by all means, if you can afford that and go out there and you want to spend that much money on a sim racing setup, then go for it. But you know, honestly, you don't really need much. As long as it's nice to have a little bit of force feedback in the wheel so you can feel what's going on, especially if you're talking about like the iRacing side of things. But it's not necessary. It's a good tool to, like what we were just talking about, reaction time and learning tracks and learning good racing techniques. If that's the primary goal, then you just need a couple $100 on a good computer, a good set of pedals, and a good set of steering wheels, and you can go out there and you can do iRacing.
One last thing on iRacing.
Yeah.
What was your favorite setup, or the current setup you have right now, ever on iRacing?
So the way that I go about my rig that I work on is I don't like completely sell out of it and then start fresh. I still have like a lot of the same stuff that I used when I first got into it. And so I always just upgrade components. So the boring facts are my actual seat setup is a GT Omega. So I got this whole assembly that holds my pedals and my steering wheel and my seat. And then I just purchased a Sim Experience AccuForce V2 steering wheel, which ran me about $1,000. And that was a very guilty purchase of mine. Don't know what I was thinking. But it just, the feeling in the wheel, you can feel the vibration of the motor through the steering wheel.
Is it like Fanatec level?
I would almost say it's maybe higher in Fanatec, yeah, but it's pretty good. Pedal wise though, I'm still using Logitech pedals just because that'll be the last thing that I buy. But there's nothing crazy. And then I got a curved screen monitor. Some people do the VR goggles. Some people do a triple screen setup. I like the curve just because you don't have to worry about the creases between a triple monitor. And the VR goggles are, to my how my experience is, it's kind of uncomfortable. Have you ever tried the VR goggles before?
They give me a headache.
Yeah, I mean, and the other thing too is like, the other thing that causes the headache too is like the quality in the lenses, like the actual screens in the lenses. They're not that great unless you go crazy up on top of like the price point of them. But yeah, I'm the same way. I can't do the VR goggles, but I like my setup that I have now. It's nothing too crazy, too expensive, but it gets the job done for what I'm trying to accomplish.
And obviously, it's done you pretty well.
Yeah, I like it.
Really quick, this is a question that I had, but can you win money on iRacing like you possibly can? Well, you can in real life, but
there's some guys out there that are making more money racing on iRacing than in real life.
Yeah.
For example, one of the great things that I was able to help do on the Skip Barber side of the world is we actually were giving out scholarships to race in the real life series through iRacing. So people raced with us for 6 weeks. And at the end of that, if they won the championship, they got a full ride scholarship in the F4 car, same series that I'm racing in. So iRacing, although it's not the real life thing, you're not actually going to the track, there's a lot of real life opportunities and money involved in being able to do it. So for someone that's looking to get into it, it's a really good spot to start, but you may actually have some longevity in the sim racing world.
And yeah, that's good. And I did kind of hear about that you could win a scholarship. I didn't know it was that intense, but that's really good to know. And there's going to be some people out there that are wanting to know that because that means a lot. A full ride at Skip Barber, right?
Skip Barber in the Formula Series, yeah, you're talking almost over $100,000 scholarship to go race in the series, and that's big. And we have 3 guys in the series right now that race that have come from sim racing, and they're all like podium contending drivers. They're not towards the back of the field, so they've gained really good experience from the simulator, and they've been able to translate it to really good success in the real car. So that right there just tells you how good of a tool it is to be able to sim race and do that.
Next topic is iDrive. Can you explain what iDrive is?
Yeah, so when people come to the Gateway Kartplex and they do the rental carts for the arrive and drive sessions, 10 minutes they go out on track, they use those same carts for a racing league. So they go out, they do a 5-minute qualifying, and then they do 2 heat races, and they do that for 7 rounds in the spring, 7 rounds in the fall, and then they invite the top 10 from both to come back out and do a end-of-year shootout. The guy that wins that in each of the weight classes then wins a scholarship to race in the Ignite Series. So that's where I eventually transitioned when I got into the real karts from the sim racing stuff.
Yes.
That's where I made my first leap into competitive kart racing, was through the iDrive program.
Who introduced you into iDrive, if anyone?
So when I first got into iDrive, I had been just a arrive and drive customer for 7 months, 8 months probably at that point. And there was a guy working at the Kartplex. His name was Kane Kathman. And he was seeing my lap times on the arrive and drives, and he's like, "Hey, you're pretty good. You should come out and try iDrive next Wednesday." And I'm like, "What's iDrive? I don't know what iDrive is." And so I looked it up online. I actually found a video from Brendan Lauer, who is one of the guys that I met that night and I've been friends with ever since. And so I saw it, watched it, and I'm like, "Wow, that's cool. I didn't know I could race. Like, I didn't know that was even an option." And so I was like mind blown. I was like, I gotta come do this. And so those 2 guys are really what inspired me to come out. And then the first night that I did it, I met Brendan Lauer, Austin Russell, Matt Chubb, Colin Predith, and I was in a really good mood that night. I was just so outgoing, and I befriended all 4 of those guys on the first night. And when I did iDrive, I liked the competitive atmosphere of it. I liked racing them, but it was more so I liked coming out just for the friend group that I had found. And I'm sure you may have experienced this in your experience in your school, but not a lot of people appreciate racing. And so I had gone through high school and junior high and even at college, and I didn't have the shared interest in racing. I had to find other things to find my friend group, which I didn't really like. Everyone just kind of hated racing and thought it was dumb. And so it was cool that I finally then found my friend group in racing. So I'm sure you've experienced that yourself with people not appreciating racing.
Yes, definitely. And it's gone way farther than it should have, and it sucks, but I mean, if they saw this and looked where we are and where we've gotten, then they need to start appreciating it, because
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like it doesn't come easy. It's built, not bought. You know?
Right, exactly. Well, and then there's a lot of people too that have done like real sports. Like I think of one of the guys that races in senior right now, Trevor Egelmeyer. He was religiously a soccer player, and as soon as he found out karting and did karting, he was immediately hooked, and he never looked back on soccer. And I think there's a lot of stories like that around the Kartplex.
I was the same way. I tried every sport, and then when I saw karting, I never looked back.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, that's how I was. Except I never did any sports. I just waited for racing. So,
at what point during the iDrive series did you feel like you could start your career from this?
I don't think I ever really. I don't think I had any expectations to have a racing career. I mean, from the background that I had in my childhood and just not thinking that racing was an option, I just thought iDrive was going to be something that was going to be fun and a hobby. And even like being good at it and seeing a potential in winning the championship and being able to go into Ignite, like I still thought it was going to be a hobby. I thought it was going to be, okay, this is something I'm going to do on the side, and then I'm going to have to go get a real job, which at this point in iDrive, I'm going to college for mass communications, which is basically a fancy word for saying that I wanted to make videos for a living. And so I never thought of it as a potential to really make a career in racing. I never thought that I was going to get to this point where I'm at now.
How did it make you feel when you won the iDrive series?
That is the one and only time that I think in racing that entire last heat that I don't think I breathed at all when I was out on track. And when I came out, I had this like insane chest pain, and like I was crying. I was bawling my eyes out, literally. I was like, I never, even like to this day, I still didn't think I was going to win that day, because it came down to me and Brendan Lauer, and we both traded championships. I won the spring championship. He won the fall championship. So when we went into it, we literally had no idea. It was going to be pretty much luck of the draw. Whose day was it going to be? And I won the first two heats, and it came down to the third heat, and it was like I could finish fourth or better and win. And so the entire time, me and Brendan basically battled out in the top two spots, and I pushed him a little bit, and I'd make a pass, and we just raced each other really well. And I came across the checkered line, the line, and I finished second in the race, but I knew I'd won the championship, and I thought that was going to be the best day of my life. I thought that it was an imaginal feeling that was immediately met with the reality of, oh man, I'm going to race Ignite next year. I have no idea how to work on this thing. And then it became scary. It went from an immediate feeling of like happiness to like almost being scared. So, I mean, you race yourself in the Ignite series and Super Comp, like what, I've done, and you know how much work goes into the wrenching on a cart. I mean,
it's crazy.
Going from just racing an iDrive to now having to figure out how to work on it and racing it, it was very intimidating.
It's not just like you hop in the cart and win. It's not that.
No.
There's so many steps. You have to work so hard. A lot of people have to drive so far. You spend so much money. It's not just get in the cart and win.
No. One of my mentors, Greg Dingess, who helped me out a lot throughout this experience, was he always mentioned that you don't win the race on race day. You win the race the Thursday or Friday before, making sure that the cart's ready. Because like if you go out for practice and you've got a loose axle or a loose spindle or something, you've already set yourself back. So a lot of the stuff, I mean, in Ignite too, it's mostly just maintenance, making sure that you have everything in check, and then the driver can shine through. But you really genuinely win by making sure that your stuff's correct. When your stuff's correct, then it's easier to drive and you're more relaxed to drive, and then you can go out there and win races. But back when I won iDrive, I had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah. And that video's on your channel, right?
That's the other thing too, is like that makes this my story special is I I had a GoPro on my helmet the first time I ever drove a rental kart at Kartplex. That video is on my channel back in 2016. I vlogged my first iDrive. I vlogged all of my iDrives. I vlogged the championship day. I vlogged every race of Ignite, every race of Super Comp, and then now I vlog every Skip Barber race series race. So every step of my motorsports journey from when I got on track for the first time, and even like my iRacing stuff back in 2015, every moment of it has been documented, which is crazy to think about. And sometimes I cringe when I go back and look at them. But yeah, it makes it really cool and special.
Awesome. Bobby Krug, ATA Network.
Subscribe. But also subscribe to this channel too, because he's pretty cool too.
Where did you start karting, and where was your favorite track to kart on?
So I got my start at the Gateway Kartplex. My first year in the Ignite series, I had only ever ran a Kartplex. I never traveled to any other track. It wasn't until really my third and final year running full-time Ignite that I traveled to the tracks. And famously, my first win in an Ignite kart came at Whiteland Raceway Park in Indiana. And unfortunately, we only ran there for 1 year of the Challenge Series. But that track to me is probably one of my favorite away tracks for a couple reasons. The track surface is different. So there's like sealer and like old surface, and it's just got a good blend. Because you've driven on a bunch of different tracks. You've done Challenge before. So you know like different surfaces make the karts handle different. And it adds character. There's banking around Whiteland. And it's where my racing idol, Tony Stewart, got his start in karts. That was one of the tracks that him and his dad used to race at, was at Whiteland. So to be able to get my first win in Ignite at that track makes that track super special to me. But I'm #Kartplex made, #Kartplex proud. That's where I got my start. That's where you got your start, right, in karting?
Yep.
So.
And that's actually where I got my win. It was in the Challenge Series, but it was here at the Kartplex. And I had a really, really good chance to win just because I've been racing here so long, and we had an amazing kart that day. But so my favorite is going to be the Kartplex, Autobahn, and TNT. Especially Autobahn is where, like, my eyes opened to, like, this is what it is. Like, holy.
Autobahn's a fantastic facility.
Just the big bank turn, the hilltop.
Yeah.
Fat straightaways. You can't see the carts that go downhill behind the wraparound.
I've had a lot of bad luck there, though, so hopefully I can shake that sometime. I haven't
had bad luck there yet.
That's the only thing that's
actually,
keeping
yes, I
me
have.
From being like at the top of my list, because I lost a neck brace there one time and got disqualified. That's where me and Alexander Searle got into it. Like, it hasn't been my best performing track, but I've religiously said that as far as like a track to race on, it's a really fun track.
And TNT has been my favorite track for the past 2 years. The Monza and some of the things there, and the experience of the Harvester shooting all of its disgusting stuff on the track and getting to drive on that. That was pretty fun. It was not safe, but it was pretty fun.
So you Kartplex is your favorite track. I would say just because it's my home, it's my favorite track, right? What's your favorite track layout that they've run here? Because I don't really know if I have a favorite. I always liked running Super Track. Super Track's always cool. And anything we run the extensions really well. But I think Old Faithful, the normal layout, is my favorite.
Super Track is really fun for me, but I don't even remember what the layout was. I did really well. I podiumed the whole race weekend, Super Comp and Ignite. Had the extension, short turn 1.
Yeah.
Short 3, I'm pretty sure. Like, that was really fun. But the one we just ran on Saturday and Sunday, we didn't get to finish that race. That was sad.
That's unfortunate.
But we got to try. But that was a really fun one, too. And I was fast.
It's very difficult to have a bad track at Kartplex because they all seem to be really, really good tracks.
I'm pretty sure what your answer is going to be, but did your first podium come easy?
No, definitely not. There was there was a lot of hardships, and racing is a sport where you lose a lot more than you win, because instead of having two teams facing each other in any other sport, you've got, in NASCAR it's 40 teams, and IndyCar it's 30 teams. You have all these teams trying to get to the one position.
Exactly.
So your odds of winning are a lot difficult. And
yes.
You spend a lot of time early on just not winning because you don't have the experience, you don't have the knowledge. And as you build that up, you get closer and closer to success. But the thing is like, it's very easy to get down on yourself in a sport where you lose a lot more than you win. And so for me, I accredit success from my determination and hard work and having a lot of great mentors and just never giving up. That's the biggest thing that I would tell people, is just working hard and not giving up. It sounds like a cliche, but as long as you just keep putting in an effort and keep trying, usually good things will come. I'm sure you've experienced that in your time of racing.
It took me 3 years to get my first podium, working my butt off, and my father working his butt off too. So much time, so much effort, so much money, everything.
Mm-hmm.
Just kept pumping every weekend, all that hard work, and it took me 3 years to get my first one.
And I'll say that it's more, especially for the Kartplex audience, it's a lot more difficult to be successful now, because when I started, it was still very new. And so a lot of people didn't know about a lot of the tricks, or people weren't as experienced. And you've got a lot of racers, like in your series, like Beckmann was racing Ignite way before I was.
Yeah.
So his experience level in itself is going to make him a tough driver to beat on a regular basis. And so when you've got drivers like that you're racing against, like that was my Evan Stamer, my Hunter Richardson, my Spike Kohlbecker, all these guys that have already moved on and kind of left the series that I didn't have to go through. If I had to race Evan Stamer, Hunter Richardson, Spike, all these guys on the regular basis, I probably wouldn't have had the success that I had. And so for you to do as well as you've done in this period of time with all the people that you have to go through, that says a way lot more than the kind of competition that I had when I was racing in Ignite.
But yours was not easy, though.
It wasn't easy, no, and it's never easy. Even just the fact of like getting a kart that can handle well enough to get towards the front is difficult, but then to race against the competitors that you have to do. Senior now is difficult because the competition level is high too, but then you also have a lot of new guys that come in, and you know this just as well as I do. Sometimes the lap traffic don't get out of your way. Sometimes they don't know where to go. Sometimes they don't understand flags. That's just a part of the racing deal. So some days you get handed a good card, some days you get handed a bad card, but definitely the competition level now is a lot more intense than what it used to be. So success, it comes in a variety of different ways, and I'm fortunate that it came with a lot of hard work, because the harder you work for success, the better the success feels. If you won your first race, you'd be like, oh, this is easy. I'm just going to go out there and do this all the time. Having a little bit of hard work and a lot of adversity to walk through makes the winning and the success a lot sweeter.
Yeah, we'd be here for hours if I told my stories on lap cars.
Oh, man. Me and you both. We're going to have a lapped traffic podcast episode, and I get to talk about the guy that wrecked me in challenge. And then you can talk about the one guy that didn't even knock you off the podium off the last corner and going to the start-finish line down the back straight. I remember watching that and feeling for you in that moment. But
I was so mad.
So was I.
Oh, my God. I'm not even going to get into that.
Yeah,
Have you ever experienced more than rubbing in the cart?
Yes. I have never actually, gotten to a physical altercation after a race, but I have come pretty close. And I'm not proud of that either. You have to take those bad moments and make them positive. And so if you ever get into an altercation with someone on track, like I go back and I've talked a lot on my videos about an incident that I had at Autobahn with Alexander Searle. And yeah, sure, I wanted to, yell at him and maybe call him names and not be a nice person, but I was able to learn a lot from that of what not to do, what I should have done differently to avoid that. Because sometimes, we look through our eyes and we see red mist after a race. because emotions are really high in racing. I'd say racing is one of the most emotional sports out there, and when you act on emotions right off you get off the track, usually it leads to really bad things. So it's always good to like go back to the hauler and cool down for 15, 30 minutes, however long it takes, and then go talk to the driver and be actually, cordial with them. I've had run-ins with Spike and Hunter and Alexander, and I can go on and on with the names. But for example, I'm coaching some drivers, and I specifically told somebody like, hey, you don't like what this person did. Don't plan on wrecking them in the next race. That's the worst thing you could do, because now you're trying to create a rivalry, and now both of you guys are missing out on points because you're too focused on egos or whatever it may be. So go over there and talk to them and say, hey, what should I have done differently so this doesn't happen? And I wish I would have taken that advice a lot more, but yeah, I've unfortunately had more than rubbing, and that's to be expected in racing. But those aren't the moments that dictate who you are as a driver and what people remember you as. It's how you respond to that.
Yeah, I don't agree with just going up to drivers right away and like pointing the finger. Like, it's good to take a break, and I don't feel why it's necessary to just go up to someone immediately and like, hey, why did you do that?
Yeah.
And like, come on, don't do that again. It was all your fault. The next thing I'd like to cover, Skip Barber Racing School. This is a big one for you.
Huge. As you can see by my
Display.
toys that I brought, yes.
Yes. How did Skip Barber become what it is for you today?
So when I say I stumbled into Skip Barber, I quite literally stumbled into Skip Barber. I had known about the racing school. It's a legendary school. It's trained some of the best drivers in the world. I think of Alexander Rossi and Joseph Newgarden, Sergio Perez, AJ Allmendinger. In any kind of form of motorsports, there's been a driver that has been Skip Barber trained and won a championship.
Sergio was huge.
Sergio is one of the best in F1 right now.
Yeah.
I don't want to argue that. Don't even try bringing an argument my way. But I had done a iRacing contest, and I had won a one-day school. And so then I went to go do the one-day school. I made a video about it. Skip Barber liked the video, and then they kind of stayed in touch with me and wanted me to do more stuff with them. And then the Ignite Senior competition in 2019 was sponsored by Skip Barber, and I had finished third in the points that year, and so I had won another one-day school. And I kind of held on to it. I didn't do anything with it. And then I ended up winning a championship and should have got a 3-day school. But unfortunately, the Gateway Kartplex and Skip Barber partnership had expired, and I didn't know about that. But I had used my credits and a little bit of funding from one of the partners that I have. I was able to kind of complete the cost and do a 3-day program at Circuit of the Americas. So I've done this 1-day school and this 3-day school, and I went to do the 3-day school, and I made awesome videos of all 3 days, 3-part vlog series. And Skip Barber saw that, and they were like, we want you to come back. We want you to do every single program that we offer at every single racetrack. And I was like, I think they sent the wrong email to the wrong guy. I was like, this is no way this is actually happening. And so then I ended up going back for a 2-day school and was able to qualify for my full competition license. I had gone and done a Mustang school at Road Atlanta, and I'm living the dream. I'm like, this is insane. I can't believe they're letting me do this. It was such an extremely awesome experience. And then I remember getting a phone call from Joe, which is my boss right now actively, and the guy that I was working with throughout all of this. And he's like, hey, we want you to do the race at COTA like in 2 weeks. And I'm like, that right there was like the best phone call of my life. And then fast forward, I did the race weekend. It rained on us. I finished second to last. Didn't have a great performance, but then the owner of the company had offered me a full-time job at Skip Barber to help produce media and marketing and all that, what I still actively do today. So something as simple as the sim contest that I did, and actually in that moment when I did it, I was mingling with some of the people that were there representing the company just to learn more about them and tell them that I was interested in helping them out however I could. That right there is what led to everything.
And that's iRacing for you. That was
Yeah.
iRacing, right?
You're going back to the iRacing thing, yeah. So being good at that, but then also trying to, have my marketing background that I have with producing videos and offering that as a service that I could kind of trade and barter with them. I mean, I did that with Margay. I was able to race 2 years with Margay because I had, done video for their challenge and majors. Yes. And I did the same thing with Skip Barber. They let me do awesome racing schools and get to experience really cool tracks. And I turned around and made them a good advertising video that they could then post on their stuff. So that helps me in that as well. So, and they also, both Margay and Skip Barber, care that I bring back a clean cart or a car, and just taking care of their equipment. So that's another big important thing for people that want to make it to the next level is you got to know what your team owner or sponsor or whatever expectation is. For one person, it may be we only care about trophies. We don't care if you bring it back on it's like wreckers or checkers, that famous saying, wreckers or checkers. And then there's other people that are just like, hey, we don't have the budget for this. Just bring us back a clean car. And if it's a third place podium, that's good. And we also have a clean car. That's a double win right there. So it just depends on what the person values. But that's how I got in with Skip Barber, and it's been full throttle since then. So,
can you share a little bit on the success that you have had with Skip Barber?
Yeah, so my primary goal with Skip Barber is my main job duties, which is the marketing. But I'm assuming that's too boring for this, and so we should primarily focus on the racing aspect of it. So last year I was able to run a partial series. So I ran at Circuit of the Americas, New Jersey Motorsports Park, Mid-Ohio, and Indianapolis. And out of 3 of those 4 visits, I got on the podium. And the way that I like to explain it to people is, yeah, it's me on the podium, and I feel like I'm a talented driver, but I don't see myself as having a lot of natural talent. There's naturally talented drivers that, Kyle Larson, for example. He can get in a dirt car, he can get in a stock car, he can get in anything, and he can go really fast. He's a really good driver. For me, I feel like I'm a very taught driver. I can learn good things, and I can retain stuff, and I'm teachable, very teachable. So I attribute all my success to all of my great instructors that I've had. And I've worked with legendary names in the motorsports world that you may not have even heard of. Terry Earwood, Bruce McGinnis, Gerardo Bonilla, Carter Fartuck, Eric Powell, guys that have had success in, before we were both born, combined. And then guys that are having success now at some of the top levels of motorsports that have taught me things that they've learned. Kind of like what we've done, like some of the advice that I've given you. As you learn little nuggets of advice from each person, you're able to kind of build your own driver.
Yes.
And so the guys that I'm looking up to are guys that have won championships in the highest levels of motorsports and been able to race against some of the best people in the world. So to be able to, for me to do that same thing and build the nuggets and build what I am as a driver, that led to my first ever podium finish at New Jersey, getting another third place finish at Mid-Ohio in the rain, which that was awesome. And then being able to win at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. That is still probably my favorite podium finish that I've had. And then starting out this year, I think last year I looked at it as this is a really cool experience to have. I mean, not many people get to race a Formula car at some of these tracks. I never thought that I was going to get that opportunity, so I just wanted to experience that. This year, I'm taking more of my emotion out of it. I mean, I don't want to, this sounds really bad, but I try not to care too much that I'm getting to experience this. I'm more focusing on what do I have to accomplish here. Because I know that if I can be really successful in this series and go on to place really well in the championship, that my position at Skip Barber, we have a lot of iron and a lot of different fires. We have a touring car team that competes in TC America with Honda Civics. We're working on a lot of other really cool things. And so I know that my opportunities internally with the company are huge. And so if I can stay committed to Skip Barber and be able to maintain this relationship and just do well in the Formula car, I don't have to win the championship. But as long as I can prove that I can race really well and take everything that I've learned and use it and be a very marketable guy, that I can have a pretty long career in motorsports. So I'm just playing it the smart way. And I was able to get my first win not too long ago at VIR, Virginia International Raceway, in the Formula car. And, the opportunities are going to be endless if I can keep the success going.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir. Yep. So it's cool, too, because the thing that I pride in it, I'm very proud of myself. I don't really see myself as a self-centered guy too much. But I look at what I'm doing as a gateway to guys like you, guys that have, started from this. And I don't know where your mind's at. I don't know where everyone else's mind is that's racing, but I know that if I was in your shoes, I would think that this is something that's pretty unattainable. I'd be like, I didn't think that I was ever going to race Ignite when I was in iDrive. Winning a Formula car race and competing for a championship in a Formula car series, I just got chills thinking about it. And I'm actively doing that. So I'm hoping that, being able to show what I do, I do like to boast and brag on what I've accomplished, but the deeper meaning is really being able to enable younger, talented guys like yourself to then see, that you can do this someday, as long as you have the right mindset and you're doing all the right things. So
If there's one or two people, or three, whatever you want, that have inspired you, anyone, doesn't have to be through racing, can be through business, anyone, who would it be?
That's a fantastic question, and I'm glad that you were able to ask me that. Early on, I'm a big Casey Neistat guy. He used to do vlogs, and he did like one vlog every day for I don't know how many years. But he started a tech company, and he's the one that really kind of educated me on good morals. So just like hard work ethic, never giving up, just having the grind and the hustle. Like, he's very inspiring. Like, I'm not a guy that's ever going to get a tattoo, but he's got a tattoo on his arm that says work harder. And it doesn't matter if you already are working hard. You can work harder. You can just keep pushing harder and harder and harder. And, he's always said stuff too, like he's not the richest guy. He's not the smartest guy. He's not the best looking guy, but you can definitely be the most hardest working guy. And in this industry, you could say that in the paddock, you can be the guy that works harder than your competition. And so hard work is something that is very underrated, and you can always work harder and just push. So Casey Neistat is one of them. Greg Dingess has been a huge enabler for me. Greg Dingess, he used to work at Margate Racing, was the general manager there, and now he's off doing his own media stuff. But he was my coach. Like, everyone has, some people in the paddock have Ryan Bierke or Grant Palmer or whoever it is. Trevor Eggemeyer is doing a lot of coaching, Evan Stamer. They have that guy that coaches them. Well, I was very fortunate to have Greg, and he taught me a lot about business, a lot about media, a lot about karting. Like, I would definitely not be doing this without him. And then, currently and actively, Anthony, Joe, all of my Skip Barber instructors, I've got a really good core group of people that I can lean on in my Skip Barber world that really enable me to just feel comfortable and confident in what I'm doing. Because I like to overthink sometimes that, I can do things differently and look back on what I did in the past. And they always say, forget what you've done. Just focus on learn from those mistakes, and then take it to the future, and then just be better. Always keep pushing, always work hard, and never lose focus on what you want. One of the best things in racing, right? If you ever get a car loose or you're about to spin out, you always want to look where you want to go. You don't want to look at the wall that you're about to hit. You want to keep looking in the racetrack. And I think that also goes for in life too. Things could be bad. Things could be going really bad. You could, for me it was, maybe travel delays or whatever it could be. If you focus on the good parts, usually things will lead you in that direction.
My three are going to be, first of all, you, because like with the YouTube and with the iRacing, and Zach Buchanan, he does it too. So does Reid Sweeney. A lot of people. Race Beckmann, I'm pretty sure he does iRacing. But all of these people, Carter Riddle, they've all done iRacing. And I know that if, especially like Racing Carter and Reid do it, that I can do it. And especially like you and Zach with YouTube, how you guys have done it. I know I can do it too. So that's a big one. And then the path that Lando Norris took, he has been my favorite driver for a long time. He came up through karting, 2 cycles, OTKs, has started his own company completely off of karting, and now he's going on to hopefully win a championship. He's doing great this season. But from him to start in karting where we're starting, now we're not starting in 2 cycles, but it's 4 cycles, and there's still 1,200 people in the nation that do it, and a lot of them have their names out there, big names, Alexander Searle, Reid, Evan, Spike, all those people came up through karting, right?
Yeah, and you think you hit the nail on the head with that one too, like mentioning myself, and Spike's done a lot of really cool open wheel stuff, currently racing in USF 2000, Evan Stamer racing in USF 2000 last year and now racing in WRL. I mean, there's proof in the pudding that you can take really good, talented drivers here at Kartplex and take them to the next level.
Yes.
And I especially think your generation, your class of drivers, have a lot of big things going for them, because this is the age you want to start in. When me and Stamer started in the industry, people say that, oh, well, they're way past their expiration date because they're already X years old. But you really don't have to, that doesn't matter, really, honestly. But being at a younger age and now having all the people in the paddock with eyes on you guys, seeing what the next generation of racers are going to be, this is the place to be. You're already doing the things you're supposed to be doing. This media thing helped me out a lot. I would definitely not be with Skip Barber if I wasn't doing YouTube and all the video stuff. So you creating your own platform here is very smart. And then also having the talent behind the wheel. And also you guys just got to be able to talk the talk. You got to be able to be humble and be able to sympathize with people. And those are the talented things that's going to build you and take you to the next level. And so right now, you're on a good path. You just got to keep doing what you're doing.
And last of all, like, I just wanted to say there's a lot of people that you can go and talk to and ask that are very nice. And, like, if you didn't want to talk to a parent or somebody older, you could talk to kids. And one that I really recommend is Aiden Liber. He is so good to go talk to. And he's a really smart driver. Isaac Wells is also very smart, very good driver. And Bobby's really fun to talk to.
Yeah, Isaac was really good when he was in junior, and then he moved up to senior, and he started beating me in Super Comp, and now I'm not liking him as much, but I'm only playing. And you're also a good person to talk to too. So for younger people, they can go to you, and yeah, I always try helping as many people as possible. I know that, Kartplex, we do have a race family, and it's really awesome to be a part of that. But there's sometimes that people there's like little cliques, right? It's like high school. We all go to the same high school. We all like each other. We're all a family. But you do have those little bit of cliques. And I invite anybody, if they think that they're kind of too far out in a different area, to come up and talk to me. Maybe they're just new at the Kartplex and they feel like they may not fit in to be able to come talk. Come talk to me. Come talk to you. I mean, we want to try to make this a fun experience. And let me tell you, I've heard this from a lot of people that have retired out of racing. This stuff, this trophy, that trophy, it's very cool. We're very proud of that moment. But when we're at the end of everything, that's not going to be what's the most important part. The most important part is the friends and the memories and just the good stuff we were able to do. Our accomplishments. And yeah, exactly. I think the racing for me, as far as the things that I focus in on life, the racing almost feels kind of secondary to my friend groups and just trying to be a good person, try to help out other people. I think that's what I try to do. And I think just that good mojo bleeds over to then having success in the race car. Because if you're nice to so-and-so, they'll be nice back to you and help you with setup or racing tips, that kind of thing. And that's the same thing in this world too. And so if you're friends with your competition and trying to learn everything that you can, and that stuff will build up, and that's how you're able to win.
And as a thank you for coming on our show, Behind the Mic, OGR Network, I would like to give Bobby a special thank you gift.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. This is
You're welcome.
I appreciate this. Thank you very much.
Make sure you check in the bag.
Check in the bag right now?
Yeah.
Right now, on camera?
Yeah.
I'm very nervous. Is it going to bite me? I got my very own T-shirt. Oh, I survived behind the mic. That's nice. I like that.
And
So that's the back.
Scan that code
Whoop.
and brings you to OGR Network.
Wow, you guys have thought of everything here. I like it. I survived behind the mic. There's the front right there. That's nice, dude. I'm gonna wear this, and I like it. It's that athletic material.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna, all the sweat's gonna dissipate off of me. So I like that. It's nice. I appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Oh yeah.